Our website this morning, as you know, we have years ago. We should be playing some of those Ramsey tunes, Chic, that Don Reggae and Peter Boyle's Media Horror Productions did as we got the Ramsey case under. When we do that, we'll pull up some of the Don Reggae tunes. But one of the officers who was involved in the aftermath of this is a really fine man. His name is Jim Kohler, and he has written a book. And Carol McKinley, kind enough to be with us. I mean, Kinley and I went through all of this together. Foreign Faction, Who Really Killed John Benet Ramsey, and Jim Kohler is with us. Before any, as you know, the Ramseys are kind of suit happy or sue happy. They have never obviously come near us because, like I said, bring it, John. I'd love to have the showdown. But they do go after other people. And I know the conclusion of your book. I've not read your book, but I know your conclusion. Have you been worried about a lawsuit?
That is always looming out there, yes.
One of the people I wanted to bring up before we begin your life track is Steve Thomas. I became a huge Steve Thomas fan. Carol, would you tell the audience about who Steve Thomas was?
Well, Steve Thomas was one of the lead detectives in the case, and he was hell-bent on the Ramsey did it theory. And, he did get pretty far into the case. I mean, he did quite a few interviews, didn't he, Jim?
Yes.
And then he quit in frustration on John Benet's birthday. I think it would have been her, 7th birthday, August 8th.
I remember we became friends. I remember him giving his badge over in a lumber yard, correct, Carol?
Gosh, I don't know about that.
Do I remember that right, Jim?
If I remember from his description, he met some Boulder PD command staff somewhere out on the street. He did not go to the department. I don't remember if it was a lumber yard or not.
He wouldn't even go back in the police station. I thought it was that he had done it in a lumber yard, but I always thought he was a remarkably brave guy.
I have the utmost respect for Steve. He worked for me for a short period of time when I was still a patrol sergeant, and he was one of the sharpest patrol officers and investigators that I've ever worked with, and he and I have continued to stay in touch over the years, and I think he's a great guy.
Is he still in town, Jim?
He's in the southeast. He was in Australia for a while.
Yeah, I knew that.
I think he's in Florida.
He's a brave man. His career was destroyed because of this story, as other people's lives and careers were destroyed. So I turn it over to you, boss. What happened, Jim?
Well, I need to provide some background here. I write a story that is intended to help clear up some of the misconceptions and misperceptions that have been reported out there. And so this is a 15-and-a-half-year-old case, and I felt that a lot of people maybe weren't familiar with it, as well as those who were, needed to kind of set the record straight. So I've provided a historical overview of the evidence that helps clarify some of the things that might have been misconstrued previously. And over that part of the book, I kind of take on the prevailing theory of the involvement of a lone intruder sexual predator and disassemble the evidence that was pointed to by intruder theorists and coming up with a new review of things that perhaps Boulder had not been able to share. It's a critical analysis of physical evidence, family witness statements, behavioral clues, some of the victimology you're talking about, and it addresses the touch DNA, and then focuses on the linchpin of the intruder theory, which Lou Smith proposed, was the use of a stun gun. And that is entirely blown away and discounted. And if you lose that linchpin...
May I ask a question about Lou Schmidt?
Sure.
Did he go on his hands and knees with the Ramseys and pray to Jesus in the side yard of their house?
I'm not sure if he's been on his hands and knees, but I know that it was reported that he had prayed with the family in his van parked outside the home.
Why, if you're hard, why was his wife also a cancer survivor?
I don't know that.
Carol, do you remember any of that?
Yes. You mean Lou Smith's wife?
Yes.
Yeah, she died of cancer.
But she
was a survivor. Yeah, she was a very nice lady.
Yeah,
I met her a couple times.
But
no, I know you're not. I'm just saying. Lou Smith is a very likable, charming guy.
Not throwing rocks. I'm just saying.
I should say love.
Did he
was, but he loved her so much, and his whole life revolved around her, and he was very, wrapped up in her sickness.
Did he go and pray to Jesus with the Ramseys at the side of their house?
He did. Yeah, he told me that he used to wait in front of the house. He said a good detective tries to meet everybody, tries to meet all of the subjects in a case, and so he was going out there early in the morning at dawn to pray in front of the house, and he thought the Ramseys might show up, and one day they did, and they did pray together. I remember he said he saw a deer one morning, like in the early morning dawn, and it inspired him as to the case or whatever, nature or whatever. But anyway, yeah, they did pray together.
Did they shared they were, well, I don't believe it of John and Patsy, but I simply believe it of Lou, that they were Pentecostal. I believe the Ramseys just grifters, but...
well, the Ramseys were Episcopalian.
The Ramseys were Baptist and became Episcopalians when it was clear that the power elite of Boulder went to St. John's. John, I mean, they switched their religion. I mean, come on. I mean, they understood to ingratiate themselves in the perfect town, they had to be, the most politically correct Protestant faith, Episcopalian. But they were Episcopalians like they were born different religions and they morphed it. But Lou,
well, John Ramsey's latest book is
I know
is all about religion.
I know. John Ramsey's latest book is a con.
Nobody bought it. It didn't sell very well.
Well, the first book they put out, they found a Christian publishing house to publish. They wouldn't go to any. No, I mean it's sick. It's beyond sick. But regardless,
he says that it's his faith that got him
I'm
through,
sure.
and I think that's what the
no, it's his lawyers that got him through, but and his money and his BS got him through. But I'm going to come back. I'm so angry about these people and what they did. But they got Lou.
These are your opinions.
That's all right. I think they co-opted Lou, and I think he failed to understand that they were co-opting him. But long story short, I take it away from you, Jim. I didn't mean to. If you would.
Well, what I've laid out the history so people can get a clear understanding of I think how the case evolved, and then I go into how I came to be involved as a lead investigator and what I saw my role to be. The DA's office was continuing to receive new leads. Not, I think, some that were very profitable, but so I started to read case reports, look to the court documents to try to get an understanding of the case. So I wasn't just going off rumor or things like that, or what was being reported in the press, which was not always accurate for obvious reasons. But as I began to look at things, I saw new things, other things that Boulder had already talked about but were unable to share, and started to discount pieces of evidence that intruder theorists pointed to as evidence of someone being involved other than the family. And then I discovered some new things as well, really delved into some other things that had not really been, I think, observed in the past. And I lay it out for people to kind of read, see what I saw, discover my journey of investigative process, and then allow you to form your own opinions.
Jim,
you asked me if I have an opinion. I do. I think I have a pretty good idea what happened to John Bonet.
Do you believe an intruder came into that house that night?
I think it's very unlikely. I don't think that's very probable.
In other words, no.
No.
There's no way.
No.
What do you think of Mary Keenan Lacey?
I talk about that a little bit in the decision to write this manuscript. She had a very good office. Everyone had a very can-do attitude there. What I couldn't understand was how she, as well as a lot of other people, just continued to discount any evidence that suggested the family may have been involved. And I have a hard time figuring out why she and others discounted things that were pretty obvious, that were red flags, as well as total contradictions in evidence.
She was in. How much influence do you think Michael Tracy had on Mary Keenan Lacey?
I have no idea. I've never heard his name come up in conversation with her.
Carol, what influence do you think he had? He clearly groomed John Mark Carr and sold her that theory.
Well, I'm not sure. I think what I remember from the time is that Michael Tracy was the one who was emailing John Mark Carr,
I mean, even
And-
before, when you remember when Michael Tracy brought that camera crew down here when we were down on the old station, and I said to him, I said, "I'll do your movie. Come into the radio." You remember that? He and this guy comes in with a film crew. Hey, Jim, this
Good
guy.
for you. I mean, transparency. You don't have anything to
He
hide.
had not. He came in and he wants to do this movie. And it's a hack job. He's going to hack people, and
Yeah.
he came in with this little clipped British accent and being Mr. Cool Guy. And he brings a crew in with him. Jimmy, so honest to God, McKinley's my witness.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'd like you to do this. And I knew this guy was going to edit. And I said, be glad to do it. And I know he kind of lit up. And I said, let's go into the KHOW studios tomorrow morning at 7:00. You can bring in this film crew. He had 2 cameras and he had sound techs and he had a bunch of these British guys with him. And I said, set your cameras up. You go on the air with me. We'll do the interview. And I said, every question you get to ask me, I get to ask you one. And the first guy that refuses to answer a question loses. Do you remember that, McKinley?
Yeah.
And I said, all right, son of a. I said, you want to go play the game now? And he got so mad, and I thought, good, get mad. I want you to get mad.
Yeah, he was on your turf, actually.
And I said, you punk, get mad.
I wonder if he would have let you come into one of his classes.
No, of course not. But the point was, I said, I'll do your interview, but let's do it live on the show, and you trade questions with me. You know what he did? He packed his camera crew and got out of there. And he would not do it, and he hacked everybody that he could, and he groomed John Mark Carr just like a pedophile grooms a kid on the internet. And this idiot woman, Mary Keenan Lacey, bought the story. Now, that's the GD truth, Jim, and I think you know that.